Alright guys, so we're back with a brand new video. So in the first two videos, we set up the form, and then after that, we had fetched all of the guilds from the REST API from Discord. And now all we have to do is we just need to actually update the role. Okay, so we need to actually go into our schema real quick. Let me just verify something. Guild config. Okay, so you can see we have this default role field. So we're going to make sure that on the backend, we are updating default role. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go inside the backend. So dashboard backend, we're going to go inside discord.js. And I'm just going to put this honestly right down here. And we're going to set up a put request. Remember in the first video of this 3-part mini series, we had called the endpoint with a put request. So that's going to be /guilds guild ID. And this is going to be, I think, what was it? Roles default. Okay, there we go. And now what we're going to do is we're going to reference the request body because we want the role ID. I think that's what it was. Was that what it was called? Let me check. So update default role. Okay, guild ID roles default. Role ID, perfect. And we'll destructure that from rec.body. The first thing we'll do is if role ID was not passed, we will return a 400 for bad request. But it's likely that this, this should be fine actually. Okay, and then we will destructure the guild ID. Okay, and now the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to basically need to search the database. So we can actually do this const update lose weight, and we're going to reference our schema, but we're going to call find one and update. And so we're going to search the guild, or we're going to search the database based off of the guild ID. So that's going to be our query. Those are all of our conditions for the first parameter, which is an object. The next parameter is also going to be an object, but this is going to tell Mongoose how to update data. So we want to update the role ID. So the field was called, what was it? Default role. You know what? I'm probably just going to change this to default role. And then on the front end, we'll also do that as well. Just to make it easier for me, I can just pass that in like that. And the third parameter will pass in the new, set to true, so we can get the new data. So we need to handle our errors, or not errors. We need to well, first let's handle errors. Let's try catch. Okay, so if any errors happen, that should be an internal server error. So we will return a status of 500, and I'm just gonna copy this code over here. Now we're going to use the ternary operator over here. So return updates. So if this is truthy, then it's going to return update. Else it's going to return a status of, I think, 409 or 404 not found. Or we'll just do 400 for bad request. Bad request. And I should have done this in the last video, but actually no, I already did it already. Okay. Okay, cool. So this should be just fine. Okay, so let's go back to the front end. So we're over here. So we have our guild ID and the default role. Now we got to go back to the parent component, which I think was menu page, or not menu page, dashboard page. And we passed null and null, so we got to fix that now. So now we need to pass in the guild ID and the role ID. Okay, so now let's go back to our app and let's make sure that this actually works. So let's select the approver. So it's saying, let's see, it's giving us a 500 internal server error. I think if we look in the logs, it probably didn't find the, actually no, it should have found it. It was just a server error. So what could possibly be the issue? My guess is maybe it might not be in this database, but it should, yeah, it should be in the database. Okay. I'm trying to think off the top of my head what could be the issue. Guild config. Let me look at the logs. It's saying cannot cast string field for default role. Oh, I see. So you know what the issue is? Oh, wait, I forgot. We are passing in an invalid, we're passing in the wrong value type. Okay, so I completely forgot about this. Silly me. But this is an object, and we're trying to pass in an object to the API. So we got to fix that. So let's go over here. Where is it? Okay, right over here. Okay, so we're inside the dashboard menu index.jsx. So you could technically go over here, because right over here, this role ID, this is an object. Okay, this is an object that's passing from here. So we're going to go inside the dashboard menu index.jsx, and values over here is an object, but it has the value of the default role, which is basically whatever is inside here. Okay, this object is literally what this is. So we're going to pass in default role instead, and that's going to be passed into here. Okay, and then that should work just fine. So let's see. Okay, so it seems like that worked, and we can go to our database. Let me open that up real quick. So guild configs. So you can see right over here. Yep. So this is the guild, right? The guild ID matches this one up here. And you can see the default role is this one. If I go ahead and if I change it to approver, change it to this one. Let's refresh. It did get updated. Good. Let's change it to bot. It got updated. Perfect. So we know that it works, but now the problem is if I refresh, you're going to see that it's going to bring it back to everyone. So you can actually fix this by doing this. So we know that when we fetch the guild config, it's going to give us default role. So we can actually do this. We're going to go to dashboard menu. And what I'll do is, because we don't know if default role will be truthy or not. So we'll do this config default role. If it's truthy, we'll set that as the default value. If it's not, we'll do empty string. Okay. So let's refresh, and it seems like that seems to not be working. Oh, wait. Okay, wait a minute. I got it. I know exactly what the issue is. So it is setting the default value. Okay, let me do this first. Whoops. Let me do this first. Okay, so 302. Okay, so it is setting it correctly, which is good. But what I really wanted was I wanted to select the one that was already configured. But that's very easy. We can do that as well. So what we'll do is inside the select for options, there's an attribute called selected. But what we want to do is we want it to be selected only if a certain condition is matched. So we'll do this. Selected is equal. So if option.id, or not option.id, sorry, role.id is equal to config.default role. Okay, now again, this might not be truthy, so I might need to actually do this somewhere. You know what? I'll do this. Let me do this up here actually. Const role ID, because we're gonna get an error if that's a null. So I want to make sure I account for that first. So config.default role will be config.default role or empty string. So this way we don't run into any errors. So now we can do this right over here. We can also do that right over here. Now if I refresh, you're going to see that that's working perfectly. If I update it and if I refresh, it's going to show the selected one. Now if I try to go over to, well, I mean, I think it's the button here. Okay. So normally let's do this now. It's perfect. It's working just fine in the other server as well. Okay, and that's really it for updating the role. So the auto role. So this could generally be anything. This could be a muted role. It can be an auto role. You can also set this to be an XP role, etc. And yeah, so that's pretty much it for this video. So I'll see you guys in my next one. Peace.